Of course, everything starts with a decision. One decision leads to another, and sobriety is not a sprint. It's literally a marathon. It's a decision that we have to make every single day, sometimes every hour at a time. I am Ebony K. English. I grew up in Columbia, South Carolina, but it wasn't the easiest childhood for me. I grew up fatherless. I always felt as though if I wasn't good enough for my dad to stay around, then I wasn't good enough for anyone or anything. So I kind of traveled throughout life, wanted to hear those words telling me how beautiful I was, telling me how worthy I am, but I never received those things. My freshman year of college is actually when I discovered alcohol, and I realized that it was something that I could utilize to numb everything that I was experiencing on the inside for so long. And I remember leaving school one day and I brought 3 bottles of wine. And I drank all three bottles of wine that night. And I went back to one of the instructors the next morning and she said, "Ebony, it's coming through your pores." And I said, "I know, because this is who I am. I'm not who you guys think I am." And I still had those deep-rooted issues that I was battling with, not feeling good enough for my parents. I didn't have a lot of self-love, and I was very nonchalant, but I definitely had those moments where I was like, "God, if you want to call it quits today, that's fine with me." Around the age of 28, that's when I started to actually hide my drinking. I started to drink alone because I did not want to experience anything that was going on in my life. I was listening to a church app and I heard the pastor say, "Counseling is not correction, it's direction." And that was enough for me to say, okay, well, I'm gonna try it out. Initially, I was ashamed of it because where I grew up, people don't go to counseling. And I went to a therapist, and I remember that was the very first time that I admitted out loud to anyone that I have a drinking problem. It kind of gave me the feeling of being able to admit it means that you can take a hold of this. My turning point was waking up to my son crying hysterically beside my bed, wondering was I sick the night before. I went to console him. I realized that my vomit was all over the floor, and that's when I made the decision in that moment that alcohol had to go. Early in recovery was really, really difficult for me. So I was very intentional about finding those individuals who were on their own individual journey of sobriety as well. And that's where I pulled a lot of my inspiration from. One of my favorite places to go is the library because I absolutely love books and I'm obsessed with the mind and the way that it functions. A large part of my sobriety was actually a huge mindset shift. All of my mirrors in my home, I wrote, "I am enough." I have alarms that go off on my phone about 6 times a day reminding me that I am enough. I knew that if I was going to be successful on this journey, that it was definitely going to take a higher power. It was going to take me being able to admit when I was struggling. It was going to take me to actually own the things that came up for me, because what I realized in sobriety is not just a stop drinking journey, it's actually a healing journey as well. And healing is difficult. I started writing in recovery because initially I wasn't comfortable having the conversation with other people. Pen and paper doesn't pass judgment. It allows me to feel and sort through my thoughts. And the more I started to write, the more I learned about myself. And my journal writing actually transitioned into me self-publishing my first book. I wanted to share everything from the ugly because I know for me that shame grows in the dark, and I wanted people to know the whole story because I didn't want them to think that I just woke up and I was sober. I wanted to share the process so that they know that I've been through, because that may very well be where they are right now. I realized there were a lot of things that I was battling through that had been in my family for generations prior to me. And I just made the decision that I was going to be the one to heal certain things so that we didn't continue to pass these things on to our children. My main priority in life is to experience something different for my son than what I experienced growing up. I want him to see that he can always be an individual, that he can always be himself, that he can go out and make good decisions, and at the end of the day that his thoughts and feelings matter. My weight loss journey is actually my main priority at this point in my sobriety and at this point in my healing and just learning who I am, because I feel like you have to take care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's all a package, it's all interconnected, and I really knew that I was doing something I've always wanted to do, but I never really had the strength to do it because girls my size don't really run, or people don't really think that we run. It's something that I never thought that I would fall in love with, but I definitely did. And seeing the results is really just like sobriety is what's keeping me focused. When I look in the mirror like, whoa, you're really doing this. The way I look at life is that I can't undo or redo anything that I've ever done. I've written letters to people that I needed to forgive, because what I realized is that forgiveness was never about them. It was about me. It was about freeing myself from those things that had a hold on me for so long. Forgiving myself and being able to forgive other individuals. The only moment that I know I have for sure is now. And all we can do is face what's in front of us and move forward. And at the end of the day, in anything that we want to do, we're only one decision away from changing everything.